So I'm presenting the last talk. I'm a grassroots activist from Minnesota, and I just want to tell you a little bit what we have been doing over the last 2 years in basic income activism. Unfortunately, we don't have time for a panel, but we have another session tomorrow at 3:10 to 4:40, Grassroots Organizing 2 strategy session, and that will be just open discussion. So if you have any questions, please do come back tomorrow, and I hope that we could kind of develop more of a strategy on what we're kind of doing in basic income activism here in the United States. And I hope my slides translate from Apple to this PowerPoint. We are Basic Income Guarantee Minnesota. We started 2 years ago after the last USBIG, which happened in New York City, and where the political movement officially started on March 1st in Brooklyn. So I went back and together with others, we started a group, and big event, looks good. My father-in-law is an artistic director. He got us a good logo, and only last year in July, we actually came up with a mission that was kind of based on having enough support. We started off, like Victor said, really very small, but last summer we had enough buy-in from a variety of constituency where we could go towards developing a mission. And the mission is, as a member of an active, inclusive, and international movement, BIG fosters the implementation of an immensely basic income. And now I don't have the, that is just bad. All right. By educating and advocating for a basic income for policymakers, the public, and organizations. Again, that kind of cut out. So we kind of try to provide some continuity in the community. We have a monthly newsletter, which we call Dream Big, which we send out to people who sign up from our sign-up sheets, which we have at our tables. So we have now over 300 people sign up, so this is an example. We have a very short newsletter with our upcoming events, and then a video, and then 2 articles. Here's a picture from one of our meetings. What we're doing very often in the community is tabling at a variety of events, having handouts, having a sign-up sheet, having here little tablets where people can write down why they support a basic income. At some other events, we have here spots to kind of be part of the community of activism in the Twin Cities. Here we have some handouts, little quarter sheets. We distribute Martin Luther King's excerpt from his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos of Community. Here we are visioning basic income. What does a basic income for all look like? We also have the vision for Black Lives. Chioma was mentioning Movement for Black Lives. What we also have is this Dream Big, where we ask people on little cards to write down what they would do with a basic income. So it just kind of opens up their mind that life doesn't have to be like it is, but there might be another life out for you. And it's not just kind of what basic income would mean for you, but also we ask a question what basic income would mean for society. But most of the people are really kind of thinking about what it would mean for them. And it kind of breaks my heart when I read things like, get me and my 2 kids insulation and running water and a heat source, you know, or eat. I think it's kind of really very telling where people are at in their lives. We also sponsor some events. In February, Enno Schmidt came to the Twin Cities, and Kate McFarland was here. We had Marcus Huckes, who is running for City Council in Minneapolis, and my friend Chris Osbakken, who ran for City Council in Duluth as a panel. We had a number of other events. Anne Withen, maybe you see her there, and
certainly heard
and
me.
Huh?
I'm saying they certainly heard me.
Yeah, and Carl Weidequist were here last year before the USBIG in Winnipeg, and here that's a picture of when Jürgen Nibbesbiller came visiting us. We also are able to make it into the media. We have been in the radio a number of times, and when we were up in Duluth with Anna Schmidt, we actually made it into television. So that was kind of, quite an achievement. We also try to be politically active. Maybe you know the group Our Revolution, that is a continuation of the efforts of Bernie Sanders. We have a group, Our Revolution Twin Cities, and I worked with them to get basic income into their platform, which now reads the call for a state and nationwide introduction of a universal basic income that will guarantee to all, without means testing or work requirement, a periodic cash payment that will be sufficient to afford a dignified life, so social security for all. And then among women's rights, we also got a sentence in call for a mechanism that acknowledges, values, and compensates the many unpaid contributions of women to society and humankind, such as basic income. In 2014, we were already able to get the basic income in the platform of the Green Party of Minnesota. Steve Fellman was responsible for getting it into the national platform long time ago, but in the Green Party platform of Minnesota, it's only for a few years. But now it reads Green support living wages that take into account all cost of living factors. And then in addition, we support legislation that would guarantee a universal basic income for everyone based on cost of living factors that covers basic needs and that affords a dignified life for all. We have also tried to make approaches into the Democratic Party, which is called DFL, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party in Minnesota, and we, in 3 precincts, we submitted resolutions, and it got passed in all the different precincts, but I don't know, it fizzled out further up, and I was being elected as a delegate, but I could never figure out what happened afterwards. But we're kind of trying to communicate with Democratic representatives and candidates. Here I'm talking with a representative from Duluth, Jennifer Schultz, who is supportive of basic income. She's a professor of economics in Duluth, and we will be working with her in future too. So what we're kind of doing right now, Minnesota is bordering to Ontario, and Thunder Bay is one of 3 communities that is involved in the basic income pilot, and northern Minnesota has a high level of poverty and faces environmental degradation by planned sulfide mining that is trying to get to copper and nickel reservoirs. So they are very receptive to the concept of a basic income. So we're thinking of doing a forum in northern Minnesota on basic income and pilot studies. We have a number of mayoral candidates that are supportive of basic income in Minneapolis. So there has been a suggestion to do a mayoral forum on basic income. We also have been talking quite a bit about approaching organizations in Minnesota to formally endorse basic income. Right now, the fight for $15 minimum wage is in full swing. The City Council of Minneapolis is just deciding on that this month. So once that is over, and hopefully we can get a $15 minimum wage in Minneapolis, there's a number of organizations who are ready then to talk about basic income. So we're kind of just waiting for that to kind of come in. And then there's Open Streets Minneapolis, where in certain parts of the city, streets are shut down, and it's open to the general public, and we have done a lot of outreach for basic income. Again, the challenge is how to move forward politically. We are supporting a full basic income, but it's not currently possible, so how do we advocate for that? And then we have started to have also some internal problems, because some Big MN members are satisfied with a lesser basic income, and some are asking for a full basic income. So what Anne was kind of saying, that we need to kind of solve these internal struggles before we can go out. And I think that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for attending.
We need a lawnmower to cut off the grass tops.
Yeah. So hopefully most of you will come to the strategy session, and we can have a real discussion on what we're doing at the Grassroots and how we deal with the grassroots. Thank you very much.
Can I make a request?